Now we're going to talk a little bit about Romaniote roots in the region of Thessaly. That's the region below Macedonia, southeast of Epirus. There are four different communities: Karditsa, Trikola, Larissa, and Volos. Larissa is in the middle. That's sort of like the capital of the region. All four of those communities survived in the Holocaust. In the community of Volos, the Romaniote pre-Sephardic traditions prevailed. Ancient historic texts mention the Jews lived in the region of Magnesia, Thessaly, and in particular in the neighboring Almiros as early as the 1st century A.D. Historians argue that Jews have been living in ancient Demetrius since the 2nd century CE. Ancient Jewish tombstones date back to 325 to 641 CE. They were discovered in the neighboring city of Pisiadic Thebes. Almiros, or Nea Alchielos, you have Jewish inscriptions in Greek. Okay, so for example, the first picture that you'll see is a tombstone for Samuel. Okay, it appeared on a wall. Okay, the second inscription isn't legible, but it's a Jewish tombstone. Okay, the next inscriptions, they're copied in handwriting, and I guess they weren't photographed. And in one of them, you see a Jewish menorah, or two of them, you see a Jewish menorah. And in these tombstones, they have various names of Jews. Some are foreign to us. Some we know about. Some are known Greek names. For example, there's the name Eusebius, which is not, it could be Tzvi, but that's not popular. There's Alexandros, which is named after Alexander the Great. Eftichia, which means luck or mazal. It's a woman's name in Greek. Anna Asterius, which means a star. That's a woman's name. Judas, Judah, or Saul. So those tombstones are in the region of Volos, which is the eastern region of Thessaly. Benjamin of Tudela also came to the region in 1171, and he claims that there were 400 families in Volos. Okay, in Larissa, which was the larger city, it was also called the Jewish metropolis, and the first Jews that came there came in about the 5th century, and there are Jewish inscriptions written in Greek, meaning like La'am Shalom, to the people, greetings, or Le'am Shalom, to the nation, or to the people, Shalom, peace, or hello, or greetings. And one was in Hebrew, Shalom al Yisrael, which means peace for the Jewish people. Now, there's one Greek inscription that was cited by the scholar Moshe Schwab on dealing with the assimilation of the Jews, and on the other hand, their will to observe the values and the customs and the laws of Judaism also. Basically, they monopolized the Romaniotes. So no longer was the Romaniote Mahzor Romania intact. It still existed, but the prayer rite became the Sephardic prayer rite. So even the Ketubah changed. Piyutim were still written in Judeo-Greek. Basically, Jewish law was transferred to Sephardic hegemony, in particular the rabbis de Medina and Adarbi of Salonika. In Larissa and in Trikola, you had basically fortresses. The Jews lived within the fortresses, and they mixed in with Turkish society. In 1881, the Jews of the region became part of Greece. Now, they still identify the synagogue in Volos, for example, as being Romaniote. They may, because it's part of Greece today, they may say some prayers in Greek, but essentially there's hardly anything Romaniote left. You do on Simchat Torah have particularistic prayers written in Hebrew that were written by Romaniote Jews. But the actual Siddur, the prayer service, is actually a whole Sephardic layout. One custom that the Romaniote Jews did was translation. They recited the Haftarah in Hebrew, and then they made a translation into Greek. So that happened in Yanina, and that happened in Thessaly. We can say that's a continuation of the Romaniote tradition. There's even a 19th century Haftarah translation into Greek from Hebrew. We have a colleague named Julia Krivashutko from Cambridge who deals with that. But that was one of their particularistic traditions. In a different section I'll talk about, in particular in Yanina, about how the circumcision traditions continued. There were some traditions in terms of marriage or premarital ceremonies or ceremonies before the circumcision. I mentioned the aleph, the scroll against the evil eye, that was used in Yanina and Romaniote communities. And you had a few other customs and a lot of different sayings which were not Sephardic but Romaniote in origin. And also the Romaniote customs and language was based on this Epirus dialect of Greek and of northwestern Greece. So a lot of the traditions and the language are traditions of Epirus and folk ballads. So, for example, we have a merging of traditions. There was a folk song, a Greek folk song about the bridge of Arta. The Sfaradim then made a Judeo-Spanish ballad about the bridge of Arta. But essentially it's a Greek theme. If there was a Romaniote poem about that, we don't know. But in terms of song, it was a song that the Romaniote Jews acknowledged and was part of their culture. So it's a whole melange. In the later period, the Sephardic culture is much more dominant, but you had migration from the Epirus region, plus you had all these indigenous Romaniote communities that were there before the Sephardic Jews arrived in the late 15th century, and they were also all Ottoman Jews, so they had a lot of common denominators, not just a replaced Sephardic tradition, but you had a lot of Ottoman traditions that merged into the culture and a lot of influences. So you had Turkish influences, you had even Turkish charms and Turkish amulets, which were part of a Romaniote culture.